can't find in the Constitution where we're allowed to have truly national parks. National parks. Where is it in the Constitution? When good old Teddy came out here and started it, okay, progressive. All right, so what would you do? I've got several points here. Folks, bear with me. First time up. What would you do to start eliminating chunks of the federal government? 2, corporations don't pay taxes. I don't care how much money Washington takes out of a corporate wallet. It comes from the end users, which is all of us, including you guys in this room. What are you going to do to fix that problem? Because all it is fake tax. It comes out of, look at the tax and gas folks. And on top of that, the corporations pay on top of that. Second off, 10% is good enough for Jesus. How come 10% isn't good enough for Washington? I mean it. Third, and more importantly, most importantly to me, is what would you guys do to stop the corruption within the Congress in this context? Barack Obama shoved that health care plan down our throats, and he's exempt from it. Congress is exempt from it. What would you guys, and you go down the litany list, here's a law that's good enough for the American people, it's not good enough for Congress, it's not good enough for the president, it's not good enough for their families, but it's good enough to shove down my throat. What are you guys going to do if elected to stop the crap that they're shoving stuff down our throats and they're exempting themselves from everything?
Okay, I want to make sure that I get everyone the answer.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
With regard to national parks, there's no reason why we can't give those back to the states. I certainly support that. In terms of getting rid of other government, I think you asked in general, other government things. The key there from a congressional standpoint, what I can work to do is work to strategically defund them. Now, if we get a president that's willing to help us in that regard, then great, we'll work with him. If we can get out and out just single point legislation that goes out and just gets rid of some of these agencies, like transitioning away from the Department of Education, how about getting rid of the Department of Energy outright, these types of things, then certainly we'll go for that. But the key there is regardless of whether we have someone friendly to help us with that, we control the purse strings. So that's why strategic defunding is so important. And right now what we see, even with our current Republican leadership, is a complete disregard to play the one card the Constitution gave us, and that is to shut the government down. The truth is we got a balanced budget in 1994 because Newt Gingrich shut the government down, took the heat, and then forced it to the negotiation table. Send someone back to Congress, I will do that. I'll do that when I'm out of time, but we'll get to the rest of it.
I think if you look on my website, you'll see that one of the things that I have said we should do is take the national parks and national forests, turn them back over to the states, make them part of the state parks and state forests again, so that you, the individual of the states, can make the determination of how you use the resources within the boundaries of your state. That is true for both the Department of Interior, the Department of Energy. These are decisions that states can make. And just like in healthcare, the state of Massachusetts made a mistake with the healthcare system. A lot of other states learned from it. Well, we can learn from other states when they do good things. If we allow the states to make the decision to look for energy within their borders or off their coasts, if Alaska started drilling off their coast and it was able to fund their entire government without any tax on the individuals in their state, other states would see that. And you would have so much energy that this country's economy would be burning again. It would be red hot again. Now, I agree. You know, there's a song, you know, if it's good enough for Jesus, it ought to be good enough for Uncle Sam, right? 10% is a rate that I think everybody inherently knows is a fair rate. Now, how we get to that, that's going to take some time. I think it's more important first that we balance the budget, that we stop the bleeding, that the patient doesn't die on the operating table before we solve all the cancers that are within the body. But once we balance this budget, we can start looking at it and arguing we can make things better by lowering tax rates and growing our economy rather than raising tax rates and forcing investment capital out of our country and jobs out of our country. With regards to corruption, we should have a constitutional amendment, like Jesse's talking about constitutional amendments. I would sponsor a constitutional amendment to say Congress and the President cannot exempt themselves from any legislation they ever write, ever again.
I think the 10% really
pushes back to how do we drive our marginal tax rates down, how do we free up the economy, both on a personal side as well as on a corporate tax rate. And certainly our corporate tax rate in this country is one of the highest in the world, and we have got to drive that down, again, to build competitiveness on a national basis. We are operating in a national economy, and we have got to recognize that and make sure our businesses here are not driven to move production overseas because of high tax rates and other regulations here. And in terms of corruption, I really think that drives out where people are spending way too long in Congress. And 38 years, whatever is waiting too long. You've got to maintain the energy of staying in front of the people, understanding what they're looking for, and responding to them. And so, well, we're not talking about term limits. It certainly is something that would make a lot of sense to me to keep us closer to the people and more engaged with the people.
In regards to corruption, you have to put the sunlight on it, like I did with Norm Dix, and you have to relentlessly expose it, and you have to do what you have to do. If it's filing lawsuits, you file lawsuits. If it's doing private investigation, you do private investigation. If it's Freedom of Information Act requests, it's those. If it's public disclosure requests at the state level, which I also did, that's what you do. You do it the way I did it. You do it with the truth. And in regards to how to deal with some of the overspending. The obvious one is the Department of Education. There's been absolutely no improvement whatsoever on standardized test scores since the Department of Education was created. They've done nothing worthwhile other than put some federal government money into the schools. That can come without the Department of Education. And similarly, the Department of Energy has done nothing but create higher prices in energy. That particular department should be eliminated. And of course, we do have to stop the primary place of corruption. That's the Federal Reserve and the financial Washington, D.C. connection that is just killing this country.